Good evening and welcome to Issues. We're truly happy to have you with us this evening. And as a reminder, you can go to issuesbda.com. That's our website, issuesbda.com, and see previous shows that have been placed there for you. Also, you can also send us your comment. There's a comment page where you can email us. Well, this evening we're truly excited to have Glen Blakeny. And if you listen to his voice, this man, he needs to have his own radio program. In fact, he needs to take over HOTT and Magic and just use his voice. Well, Glen Blakeny is one of the owners of Magic and HOTT. In fact, the ownership company is called Inter-Islands Communications. Now, Mr. Blakeny, tell us, when you formed Inter-Island Communication, was it done specifically for the two radio stations that you own?
Yes, it was, and please feel free to call me Glen, Richard.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were singularly focused on radio broadcasting.
Okay.
And that was based on primarily my background and the background of two of my partners.
Great. Now, you mentioned two of your partners. I can go back to the days of Elroy R.C. Smith when he was on the radio. Now, I understand he had a role to play, and Scott Pearman had a role to play.
Yes.
How was that? How did that partnership form?
Well, I had begun working in drafting a business plan with an attorney, Kevin Bean, who was an attorney, and it did not proceed as well as we had anticipated, and so it was on the back burner for a while. Scott Pearman then heard about it and approached me to take it off the shelves, dust it off, and move forward, and I felt confident that Scott was ideally suited to assist, because it wasn't something that I was prepared to undertake on my own. And once we got the draft done, I then told him that I had a very wealthy source from the perspective of experience and expertise, not necessarily financially. And that was Elroy R.C. Smith, who was also a good friend of mine and actually was responsible in the main for encouraging me to pursue a career path in radio broadcasting. So with that in mind, when we were ready with the draft complete, I contacted Elroy and asked him if he would be interested in co-joining Scott and I in endeavoring to establish the first radio station on the island that would be granted a license if we were successful in 20 years.
Now, I'm sure finance was one of the main problems, but in addition to finance, what were some other challenges that the three of you faced?
Well, the logistics, of course, finding a tower, finding a suitable location for the studio, and then identifying the most cost-effective, state-of-the-art quality equipment that would be required for us to have an on-air presentation that was second to none on the island at the time.
Mm-hmm. Now, it seems almost that HOTT, was that the first one?
Yes.
HOTT 107.5
yes.
was an overnight sensation. How did that happen?
I think because of the way we branded the station, because of the respect that I think the owners had within the community, because of our broadcasting background, because Elroy and I had been previously on-air personalities and enjoyed some degree of success here locally in Bermuda. And Elroy had then spiraled upward to icon status as a program director of renown in the U.S., primarily in the Chicago area, where he enjoyed a very long tenure as leading the #1 station in Chicago, WGCI. And people in Bermuda were kept abreast of his evolving success. So when they found out that we had jointly ventured with Scott Pearman in endeavoring this major broadcasting entity, I think a level of credibility and admiration for the risk that we were taking, and also for aspiring to be proprietors of a black-owned radio station in Bermuda. It was the second since the Capital Broadcasting Company, and Montague Shepard many, many years ago, who I believe was ahead of his time, launched that television and radio station where Elroy and I both got our broadcasting start.
Now, let me ask you, Bermuda only has about 65,000 people. How competitive it is in the radio broadcasting industry for that advertising dollar?
Oh, the competition is fierce because prospective clients who would be advertisers who want to reach consumers want to know that they got the reach in appealing to the demographic that would consider utilizing their business service and or consuming their products. And so we have to be cognizant that, especially in this climate, there is so many different options, not the least of which is cyberspace, where the internet now has become a very dominant competitor.
Yeah, how the internet, how challenging is that now really here in Bermuda to a radio owner? Do you find many people opting to listen to the internet in terms of their entertainment?
Absolutely. Not just for radio broadcasting, but for entertainment across the board and for education and for information. Because you get the instantaneous information now through the World Wide Web from every and anywhere you so choose, as long as you have the access.
Yes, yes.
And people go to the web to be entertained as well as informed. And so you have YouTube, and then you have the internet radio entities as well, which aren't terrestrial radio stations like a HOTT 107.5 radio station, which would be based on a frequency modulated operation, disseminating a signal to receivers in households. It's a different technology, and as a result, you can piggyback on the cyberspace technology with your terrestrial radio station as long as you have the internet access.
Right. But you're also your radio stations are also on the internet.
Yes,
yeah.
HOTT is, and we're hoping to launch Magic sometime later this year or by the end of the first quarter of next year.
Okay. Now, do you have other ventures other than the radio station? Is Glen Blakeney involved in any other business ventures?
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you framed that business-wise because I think most people would know that I do have a political responsibility being an elected member of Parliament for the Progressive Labour Party. But yeah, I do have another proprietary interest in a company that my wife and I launched, Bermuda Soul Record Company Limited, which focuses on developing local musical talent, especially singers and vocalists who would have an aspiration to succeed as recording artists. Bermuda is not known to be really a music jurisdiction, so it is again a very challenging undertaking for us. But we believe that talent in Bermuda has been severely and shamefully underserved for whatever reason, and there are many. And as a result, there is a plethora of talent and a dearth of opportunity for them to expose themselves. So we felt we could bridge it by way of a recording entity where once the music, which is all original music written by the artists themselves, is completed, produced, mastered, and then made available, it will be up to consumers to decide whether it is appealing enough and professionally produced enough for them to part with their hard-earned dollars to support that local talent. But we are not only focused on the local market because the local market is not sustainable. But if we, by chance, are fortunate enough through, again, the internet and technology to expose that music to consumers worldwide and it catches fire, it could result in significant success for the artists and for the company.
Yes.
So we're keeping our fingers crossed and praying and working extremely hard with dedication and a lot of sacrifice.
And maybe Bermuda could become the Nashville of the islands or something like that.
Well, that would really be something, because there is so much talent and it's enough to go around, and there are a number of young producers and young artists that are deserving, I think, of the opportunity to be at least exposed to various markets around the world. And then let the market forces bear what they would with regard to resulting in record sales per se. And with that in mind, we at Inter-Island Communications decided it would be worthy of us to produce live events, so that local talent can be showcased, and family and friends and supporters of those that have the talent, who have been grinding away, trying to perfect and evolve as professional performers, get an opportunity not only to showcase, but to give their families and friends something to be proud of, especially those who have supported and encouraged them with really nothing to show for it at the end of the day.
I went to one of your production. By the way, you did Bermuda Idol,
yes,
right? Yeah,
that's
correct.
One
that you did. But there was a concert, a gospel concert.
Yeah, the praise team concert.
It was tremendous.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if you guys taped it, but if you had CDs, people would rush out to buy it. It was just awesome. It was a spirit-filled night there. Well, how did you pull that together?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't here to be as hands-on as I would like, so I had to be at arm's length. And thank God for the technology where you can have the instant communication by way, again, of the internet through email, etc., and of course, mobile phones, so you have your lines of communications open so that you can still have some level of oversight. But it would be remiss of me not to give credence and the huge amount of credit to my wife, Gwen, and our team that we like to refer to as our family of staff at Inter-Island Communications, which are all our on-air personalities, not the least of which would be DJ Bitsy in the morning, Bootsy, Nikita Robinson, and
who
Sherry
was one
Simmons.
Of the hosts.
She was one of the hosts, and Leroy Simmons was another co-host. He has the program very popular on Sunday mornings, Get Your Praise On, and everyone else that's a part of the family of employees at Inter-Island Communications played a significant role in ensuring the success of that event.
You mentioned your wife. I believe she has a CD.
Yes, she does. It's entitled Sentimental Moods, and every song on the CD is penned by her, co-produced by myself and my partner Orville Malcolm out of Toronto. And she wrote every song, and a lot of the material, if not all of it, is based on personal experience, which we both use as a therapeutic process to help us deal with some of the emotional turmoil that we went through and was going through during very challenging time in our lives as a family. They say music is a universal language. It's also a very a good healing therapy for the soul. So we threw ourselves into the projects with Bermuda Soul Record Company and worked with not only her project but other projects as well, including Kaylin Castle, Corvin Melody, and a few other people that we felt worthy of having the opportunity to record their own original music.
Okay. We have been talking with Glen Blakeney, one of the owners of Inter-Island Communication, and as you know, Inter-Island, they're the parent company for Magic and for HOTT, and it's just been a delight for me to talk with Glen Blakeney, especially that radio voice. We will be right back. Welcome back. In our first section, we were talking to Glen Blakeney, the owner of HOTT and Magic. This evening, we are guest focusing on the media. We have Roland Nathan with us from Cablevision. It seems like where there's Cablevision, there is Roland Nathan, and so we're very happy to have him with us this evening. Some of you may recall, a short time ago, Cablevision had a tremendous concert, gospel concert at the stadium, and we have Roland to talk to us about that. Now, welcome, Roland. Happy to have you on
Good
Issue.
evening, sir. Good evening to you.
How was the idea developed for that food drive?
Well, believe it or not, my GM actually was, first thing in the morning, he reads the papers. And he was in his office reading the papers and actually saw an article about the Doolittle Society talking about running out of food. So at the end of reading the paper, he called me in his office and said, listen, what can we do to fix this? So I said, well, we could do a food drive, because that's how he is. He'll bounce ideas off of me, and then we'll talk about it for a while. So we came up with the concept of having a barrel placed in our office, in our payment center. Yeah. So if a customer comes in and they bring some non-perishable items, we'll give them a voucher.
Oh.
That's how it started.
Oh.
So customers started bringing in cans. So every couple of cans you bring in, we'll give you a voucher towards your bill. And people kept coming and bringing stuff. And we started getting barrels and barrels of food. What happened, we actually turned the food over to the Doolittle Society. And the lady called to say within a couple of days, the food disappeared.
Yeah.
And so, he was just taken aback by it. So he said, listen, what can we really do? I said, we can make it bigger. I said, bigger is easy. We can make it bigger. So what we did, I actually went to all the schools, churches, supermarkets, and asked them, could I place one of those blue barrels that you see in their establishment? And the schools were really, really excited. The schools were so excited. Within days, Cedar Bridge, Bermuda Institute, their barrels were filled. Wow. Mount St. Agnes, Bermuda High School, Mount St. Agnes actually gave their student bought 4 barrels of food.
And I don't know if our audience really saw those barrels. They're really big.
55-gallon blue barrels.
Yeah.
We got them from actually Waterworks. What into Waterworks?
Yeah.
And I must say thank you to them. They donated 50 barrels for free.
Wow.
They gave us the barrels. And so we end up with about 100 barrels floating around the island. So we took them to like Lindo's, Harrington Hundreds, the Hamilton Seventh-day Adventist Church, Grace Church. So a lot of churches took barrels, and the schools are really phenomenal, man. The schools and the school kids, they gave more than anybody else. They filled those barrels up in no time. And so we end up with the first food drive. We end up maybe with about 20, 30 barrels on the first drive. But we recognized that it was still not enough. It not being enough, I said, boss, we could do this. So we were sitting in his office one day, and he said, Rollin, we need to make this, we need to really, really, really get bigger. Because the more food we collect, the more food seen to people, the need to get greater and greater. So we thought about the concept of a concert. I said, sure, we could do this. So we sent out invitation to all the churches across the island and asked them would they join with us at the National Stadium for a concert. The response was overwhelming.
Wow.
Overwhelming, as you see. Concert was a really, really great success. I mean, we had more people than we could manage. We could do that. We could have had the concert for like 5 hours if we wanted to.
Yes.
And it was a great success. And,
Well, the concert was free.
Free, yes.
And the only thing that you had to bring was
a non-perishable goods.
That's right.
So the concert was free. All you had to do, bring some stuff, put them in the barrel, and enjoy a great concert.
Yeah.
But first, though, before the concert started, we actually had a health fair.
Yes.
The Bermuda Conference of Seventh-day Adventists actually put on a health fair where they will check your height, your weight, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, to see how healthy you are, and then make a recommendation to you, to go see your doctor, lose some weight. And it was very, very successful. So people could have had a free health check that day. And, I mean, the thing was so overwhelming that we are constantly getting requests. Are you going to do this next year? Are you going to do this next year? So my boss said, yes, we're going to do this next year again. So, people can get ready for this one, for next year. The great part about it is we're still collecting food up to today.
Where in the barrels or the barrels?
Still barrels.
So where are the barrels located?
Believe it or not, people are now. I took the barrels back, but people are now calling me to bring the barrel to them. I actually went to TCD today, and the management at TCD asked me would I bring a barrel by. I got a call from the St. David's police station that is asking me to bring a barrel down so they can help with the food drive. So people are actually calling now to be a part of the food drive. That is still going on. It will continue for the rest of the year. So if you're really interested in helping to raise food to feed, help out with the people that are suffering on the island, you can give me a call at Bermuda Cablevision. We'll drop a barrel to your establishment. You just get it filled up. We'll pick it up and donate it to the necessary places that needs it. We're now serving the Doolittle Society, Eliza Doolittle, the Salvation Army, Hamilton Seventh-day Adventist Church. And as the need goes, we'll go wider. People will then tell me who requests food, and if you make a request, we normally honor it.
Yeah. Now, how many barrels from the concert, how many barrels did you get?
The night of the concert, we actually end up collecting 25 barrels of food. And we divided, I think 15 barrels went to the Eliza Doolittle, and the Hamilton Seventh-day Adventist Church for their feeding program and food. They received 5 barrels, and the Salvation Army received 5 barrels.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Cablevision, are very active in the community in terms of giving back. How did this goal develop? How did this thinking develop in terms of Cablevision giving back?
Well, actually, it started about 9 years ago. We were having a management meeting, and the GM at that time was a Jeremy Elmas. And he wanted to make sure that we were doing something different. He wanted to give back to Bermuda as a company. And we started out, believe it or not, with the Cablevision Community Service Award, where all we were doing was recognizing people that are doing good in the society.
Which is still going on.
Which is still going on. 9 years this year, actually. And so we were recognizing people that, volunteer for years, have done great stuff. Then he left the island. And I had a new GM, which was Terry Robertson. Now, when Terry came in, he only made it bigger. So he was more into the softer side of things, not just to award people, but he was more interested in helping, hands-on. His thing, he wanted to see us, he forces us to read the newspaper. He said, listen, you guys, look in the newspaper, and if you see someone in the newspaper that need help, we have to go after them. So we will look in the newspaper, and we see, take for instance, a lady, she had a fire in her home and a house burnt down.
Yes.
And he said, hey, Rollin? I said, yes, sir. He said, I have a task for you. I said, okay. So I went to the supermarket, took my assistant, we went to the supermarket, and we shopped for the lady, put the items in the truck, and we found the lady, and then delivered the goods to her. So that kind of stuff we do. We actually have another program, it's a Christmas program. We partner with the Hamilton Seventh-day Adventist Church because the center is in town.
Yes.
We have a Christmas Day dinner. And I'm the cook, believe it or not. I cook.
By the way, I've been to Rollins' house and I've eaten his cooking. He is fabulous.
So I actually, on Christmas Day, we will come to the center, the Hamilton Seventh-day Adventist Center on King Street. We'll prepare a good Christmas meal for you. Turkey, stuffing, farine pie, macaroni and cheese, peas and rice. And anybody in need can come and have a beautiful meal that day. For me, this is the 3rd year for us. And what's really phenomenal for me is that we have volunteers. The last Christmas, we had up to 40 volunteers. Wow. We served 180 people for dinner that Christmas, and we had takeout of about 60 takeouts that day. And, I mean, people just enjoyed it. We had people come in the kitchen, and they just stayed on the dishes line. One gentleman, he washed dishes from he started until the end of the entire thing, which was like 3 hours. All he did was wash dishes. Yeah. We didn't have tourists. We had guests. Guests came in to help. We had some guests at the hotel, and they heard about it, and they took a taxi, came down, and helped to prepare food for the homeless and anybody in need. God, believe it or not, it was just homeless people, They were like regular family. Entire families came. People just came, sat down, and they were fed and enjoyed themselves, honestly. Yeah. So those are kind of the stuff we get involved in. we like to help. Cablevision, like I said, it is now a part of our mandate.
Yes.
That we look in the community, look at people that need help, and help them.
You know, it's interesting. I hear you talk, and you say your GM specifically looks to help.
Yes.
You're taking help to people even before they come and ask you for help.
Yes.
That is tremendous.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned the Christmas program that you've partnered with the Hamilton Seventh-day Adventist Church in terms of giving out food, but is there a concert coming up around Christmas time?
Believe it or not, we are about to partner with the Premier. The Premier would like to have a concert at the Cabinet Grounds on December 7th. This concert, however, will be the same as the one at the National Stadium, except this one will be doing a toy drive. Mm-hmm. So on December 7th, about 4 o'clock on the Cabinet Grounds, the Blue Barrels will be there again. Yeah. So your entry fee would be bring a toy, put it in the barrel, come by and enjoy a beautiful evening at concert. So I'm looking forward to doing this one again. I enjoy this. I really enjoy this. Because working with the churches, working with choirs and people, everybody wants to sing. Mm-hmm. And I love to hear you sing. So anybody that's interested to sing a Christmas carol, or they have groups and choirs that want to sing, just got to contact me at Cablevision, and I'll have you there.
Okay. You've heard it, the invitation. It has gone out from Cablevision in terms of the upcoming Christmas concert. If your church or your organization would like to sing, get in touch with Mr. Nathan at Cablevision. Rollin, it's been a pleasure having you on. As we close out, we're going to take a look at some of the activities that you had at the concert, and we're going to listen to the Brothers of Southampton.
Yes.
So thank you again for coming, and we will see you next time on Issues. But as we close, you will see the Brothers of Southampton.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the Brothers of Southampton.
Till there is no more night, in the name of Jesus Christ.